Well, fantastic. Well, thank you guys again. Well, let me first tell you a little bit how we got started in coffee. Susan and I, from the minute we met, coffee was a big part of our lives. So in our kind of dating time, we spent a lot of time drinking coffee together. And actually, the first gift I ever gave Susan was a coffee maker. It's really romantic. But, you know, in the end, it was kind of prophetic in a way because it kind of tells you how passionate we are about coffee. So through the years, we've been married a little over 13 and a half years now. Our coffee adventure kind of took some, bends and turns, but it led to things like moving to French pressing our coffee rather than doing it in a regular drip brewer at home. Grinding our own beans was a big step. Things like that. So the addiction eventually led to home roasting. So about 9 years ago, we started to home roast, and that's when this part of our coffee kind of really was born and took shape. About 3 years ago, I'll step back from that. So once we started home roasting, we began to kind of give the beans away for office gifts, Christmas presents, that kind of stuff. And people would always say, "Oh my gosh, this coffee is awesome." And we kind of half chuckled because we didn't even know what we were doing. I mean, we just knew that it was fresh, and we bought our beans from great sources, and it was a lot better than anything we get in the grocery stores. But anyway, so about that time, some friends were over and said, "Well, now that you're roasting your own beans, you have to have a name for your coffee." And so over a couple of beers, we decided that Buddy Brew just kind of rolled off the tongue. It was nice.
Which is our dog. So Buddy is our 13-year-old lab mix.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, it was appropriate on so many different levels. And then about 3 years ago, I'm a mortgage banker, investment banker by trade, and when the credit crisis hit, my business completely went away. I didn't lose my job or anything like that, but there was nothing to do. I literally would stare at a computer screen for hours and hours and hours on end. So I'm just now one to just twiddle my thumbs all day long. So I thought, what the heck? I'm going to throw a website up and just see if our messaging is good enough to entice someone to actually buy a bag of beans.
And actually, I'll interject here. So from my perspective, we were both, working in the corporate world, and he came home from work one day, and he said, "Go to buddybrew.com." So that day at work, he had created the website, and I was like, "Slow day at work? Made a whole website." So anyway, that's how Buddy Brew was born. We started with this online business, and I remember too the first time. At first, it was just our friends were buying the beans, And one day we got an order for somebody that I didn't know, and I said, "Do you know this person?" I said, "I don't know him." He said, "No, I don't know." So that was we were so excited. It was the first time someone bought the beans who wasn't our friend. And from there, it just grew like crazy. People loved the coffee, and you started getting more and more of these little roasters. We were still roasting on these tiny little things out of our garage, actually.
I roast tubes. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what an I roast tube is, but it looks like a hot air popper. Yeah.
And we both still had other jobs, so we're doing this at night. So he's up till like 2 in the morning with these little roasters.
It would take me an hour and 10 minutes to roast a pound of coffee. It wasn't great, and selling it at $12 a pound, it really wasn't.
It's a little inefficient.
Yeah. So after we bought about 4 of those things, trying to kind of keep up with the orders, we kind of looked at each other and said, "We think it's time we maybe take this thing a little more seriously and maybe get a real roaster." And so we started researching them, and we decided on the Diedrich. And Diedrich actually is a U.S. company. They're based out of Sandpoint, Idaho, and just it's a small little family business. But in the world of coffee roasters, they're one of the premier roaster manufacturers. There's really 2 biggies. We and a third if you consider Ambex and Clearwater. But we wanted to buy American. We wanted to buy U.S. So it was really the only choice for us, and it was a great choice. Even though it looks kind of old world and old schooly, it's really not. It's really quite a sophisticated machine, and we'll talk more about that when we actually get into the roasting demonstration. But it's pretty cool. So we spent a lot of time out in Sandpoint, Idaho, getting trained, right alongside with the guy who actually invented the machines, Stephen Diedrich.
And that opened a whole new world to us. We thought we were producing this great coffee because it was so fresh, and it was good. But we learned there's so much more to it than that. When you have a machine like this, you can control so many different elements that Dave will talk about as he roasts later on. But you can really we started really getting more into researching the best beans that are out there and how to profile roast each bean to bring out all the great flavors. So each bean now has a specific roast level based on that particular bean and how you can bring out the most flavor in it. So it's a really neat combination between art and science. It's like this perfect combination because there's such an art to it, but it's all very scientific in the reactions that are happening with the beans. So it's a lot like wine, you know, and as we got more and more into it, we just fell more and more in love with this business and with coffee and with how good you can make coffee. So we've had a lot of fun roasting coffee.
Yep. So anyway, we installed that bad boy in our garage in Hyde Park. So now we could actually roast, 15 pounds every 20 minutes or so, which was a big improvement over, 1 pound every hour and 10 minutes. So, but we couldn't roast at any time. We'd take a lot of people off. So we'd end up getting up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and doing most of our roasting in the morning. So by November of last year, everything had grown. The website had grown. Our word of mouth business had grown enough where it was really demanding somebody full time. And that's when I finally stepped away from my day job to pursue Buddy Brew full time. And then we found this place, kind of built it out, got the doors open by end of April of this year. And then 2 months after that, Susan ended up joining us full time as well. So now all we are is about coffee. This is what we do.
We've been fortunate enough to be able to bring Josh on board, who's an awesome barista for us, and then Ian Reese, who is also working for us. So we have some great staff, and we're having a great time getting the word out in the community about Buddy Brew. And it's been actually really fun. Opening the retail side was kind of a secondary thing for us. We thought we'd just move the roaster here and build the wholesale side of the business. But we found this great space, and here it's right on Kennedy, and we loved the space with the big windows. So we thought, let's serve some coffee and see what happens. And having no idea how much the people of Tampa were ready for better coffee. So we've been so thankful to have found all these people who were like, we want a better cup of coffee. And artisan roasting is not really the norm here. It's kind of a new thing. It's happening all over the country, but not as much here in Tampa. So it's been fun to see people really get excited about it and really enjoy a better cup of coffee.